Uh-oh.
Oh dear, the controversy I have sparked. What have I done? My goodness. Okay, it's time for me to kind of man up and clear the air of some of this controversy. I'm turning 30 soon, and I think it's well past due. Now, I will never forget being driven through San Francisco, which is the gay capital of America, by the gay director of one of Disney's digital marketing companies. And he turned around and he said to me at the traffic lights, "Nick, why is your channel called Faggotron?" And I could feel my heart sinking into my stomach, and I could feel my manager sitting next to me face palming. I could feel the palm of his face going straight through his forehead. And I had to explain to him, Faggotron is an alias I chose as a stupid teenager in 2005 when I was trying to entertain my friends with vlogs. And where we grew up, a fag or a faggot was a variant of a dickhead or a twat or a prick. Sexuality doesn't enter into that term, or at least it didn't when and where I grew up. So, tail between legs moment, I'll never forget it. Now, as I've grown older, I've become more and more aware of certain political parties, certain social movements. I'm an artist. I feel very passionately about things. It's one of the reasons why I make music in the first place, right? I need to open a valve very often. There is a culture of people who have made themselves very known, especially around the time of Trump's election, who are the sort of people that demand safe spaces. They demand trigger warnings at universities. They call themselves adults, but they require an environment akin to a creche. That interests me, okay? And these are people who are all over Twitter. Anyone who's visited Tumblr in the past several years knows about this sort of person. Advocate for understanding and tolerance and peace and love, and then the moment they hear something they think is disagreeable, they're jumping all over the death threat button. Okay, so that is a hypocrisy I can't stand. You do not have a monopoly on morality, no matter which party or social movement you identify with. Okay, so I can't stand that sort of person, and God knows the internet is full of people like that. So the way I draw these people out into the open, and have done for several years, is to write and say things that I know will grind their gears. I've written blog posts about women. I've made
Imagine suiciding your whole fucking career to trigger the libs, boys. Oh my God.
About gays. That particular video recently has been circulating the web. It has been brought to my attention by my good friend Val. Now, I think the fantastic irony here is Val is gay, and he's one of my many supporters and friends who are gay. This guy knows it's full of shit. He knows I'm grinding people's gears, and he said, "Nick, you might just want to say something about this because many people, are thinking ill of you. Like you've convinced them big time." Now, the things I said in this video, I think have deserved the reception that the video has had. I had recently watched a whole bunch of Andy Kaufman videos, and I was amazed by this guy's capacity to completely dumbfound people. Okay, so the moment I watched these vids, I started making music videos of me sitting at this table with a big grid of buttons, tons of knobs and sliders, but I didn't touch any of them. I just sat there looking terrified for the entirety of the video. And you watch the comments, and everyone is like, "That's nice." I'm trying to enjoy this. I loved it. I love confusing people. I also started making live streams in which the first 10 minutes would be me pretending to meditate. So you would tune into me, and there's just me sitting there with my eyes closed. Anyway, then I took it a little bit too far, and I made a video in which I declared to my webcam that I called my channel Faggotron because I hate gays. And this has circulated the internet very recently, and it's one of the instances in which there is no pinch of salt big enough to be taken with what I have said. It's all good and well for me to open a valve and to draw people out into the open, people I don't like, hypocrites, etc. But I feel very strongly that it's been very naive behavior on my part. If I'm going to tuck my tail between my legs and admit anything, it's that these posts and these videos and these things I've made for the sake of being edgy have not contributed to any productive conversation. I like some of the things people like Milo Yiannopoulos say, but I don't like the way he says them. He'll get up in front of a crowd of people and he'll bash, the indigenous people of Australia. He'll speak in a very sort of derogatory, very provocative way. And I've often found myself thinking, is that productive? Compared to someone like Jordan Peterson, someone like Stefan Molyneux, someone like Christina Hoff Sommers, someone like Stephen Crowder.
Oh, no, he's in the whole crowd. He's been more productive people like Stefan Molyneux. Oh, no.
Someone like, what's his name, Ben Shapiro, Joe Rogan. These are guys who I think have very calm and collected discussions. These are people I could only hope to become like one day. And it makes me think even further, I'm a music producer. What am I doing commenting on things like feminism and Black Lives Matter? I know I'm an artist and I feel strongly about things, but my naivety over the years has been in underestimating the sheer detriment and damage of being edgy for the sake of edgy. There are still many people out there who believe firmly, down to their last dollar, that I hate women because I don't agree with feminism, or because of things I've said in jest about women, or because of things that I've said about gay people. Apparently I hate gay people. Truthfully, someone in my position who makes and mixes music, I attract a lot of people of the opposite sex. So a great many people who I talk to every day on Facebook Messenger are women. And, my friends in Perth are women. My friends in Melbourne are women. I love them. Many of my supporters and friends are gay, including my friend Val, who brought this whole controversy to my attention. So there's definitely a degree of irony. But I also want to just say that if you or one of your friends has ended up in a bathtub thinking until the water gets cold, contemplating suicide because of something I've said in a blog or a video, I'm deeply sorry for that. It has never been my intention to hurt people or to offend people. That has never been my intention. Truthfully, I've never received an email from someone in that position, thankfully. But, my intention has always been to entertain, to make people think, to create discussion, to flip the coin. That's what I've only ever wanted to do, is flip the coin, is to get the better of certain social movements and cultures that I don't like. So there you go, folks. I'm turning 30 soon. I thought I'd clear the air. You're within your rights not to believe anything here because God knows, I've pretty much just said that all of my words up until now, well, the big ones have been bullshit. So all I can say to you is, if you ask my family members, if you ask my closest supporters, if you ask my closest friends, people on Discord, people on Twitter, they'll all tell you the same thing. Nick's just being an asshole. Nick's just stirring the shit. He's just throwing a spanner in the cogs. And turning 30, getting older, I have to admit, it's been a complete waste of time and energy. It has not contributed to a constructive, productive discussion. And it's a part of me that I think...
One thing that really fucking bothers me, and fuck. I wish we could watch. I mean, I don't. It's not like I would get in copyright trouble. It's just long. This video is 50 minutes. I had a moment where, so when I went to college, my schedule looked something like this. Okay, this is what my schedule looked like, and I actually planned it all out. Because my saxophone instructor Darren wanted me to write it all out, to see if it was even possible, and he told me it wasn't, and it wasn't. But like, this is something like what my schedule would end up looking like. Okay, so from like 10, when did I have to be into work? Did I work? I think it was usually at 10 is when I would have to go into work. So from 10 to 12, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wow, this is way too much. 5, 6, something like this, right? I would work from like 10 to 6. So these were like my working hours. And then I would get home and I would try to sleep for like an hour or two. Then I would have like a 9 a.m. class. Then I would try to sleep for a couple more hours. Then I would have like another class or 2 or 3 here. Then I would try to sleep for a few more hours. And then I would try to practice and then go to work. It was something like this. And then I'd be able to nap like interspersed throughout the day or whatever. This is a brutal fucking schedule. This killed me. This is what destroyed my marriage. This is why I had to quit school. I couldn't do this I did this for 3 years and it was just way too much. It was absolutely fucking brutal. At one point when I was in class, I was doing rehearsal with another girl, and this girl complained that she said something like working and doing school at the same time is like impossible. And I agreed with her. I was like, yeah, it's like really fucking brutal. And she's like, yeah, like holy shit. My manager just upped my hours at my job to like 15 hours a week, and I don't even know if I'm going to be able to do it. And I was working 60 hours a week at the time. And when she said that, I was like, I couldn't even believe that she said that. And I'm like, I don't tell people how much I work or complain about my job or anything. So I don't know if anybody even knew that I was working full time. But I just remember like her. I understand everything from that image. Oh, sorry, I'm used to using like Google Calendar, and that's how the calendar shit is displayed. If you've never used it before, then yeah, you're totally lost on that. Sorry. But when she said that, like, it blew my mind. I was like, dude. And I didn't say anything to her, but it was like, fuck, like 15 hours a week. That you're like, you have so much free time. Like you could do this in 2 days. Like you could work Saturday, Sunday, like normal 8-hour shifts, even not like the 10 to 12-hour shifts that I would have to work sometimes, like, damn. And it just struck me as being like really shitty. Like, I can't believe that you're complaining about this, and fuck. But again, I didn't say anything to her or whatever, right? But I get that same feeling when I listen to, here, get ready to get fucking triggered. I get that same feeling when I hear white people complain about racism against white people, and it's always the same shit. It's like, well, there's a lot of racism against white people, and it's like, oh, really? Damn, dude. Like, tell me what kind of racism you experience. And it's like, well, have you seen the shit that people post on Tumblr? Have you seen the mean thing? Have you seen hashtag white genocide? And it's like, wow, dude. Man, that sounds pretty bad. Wow, you got a lot to deal with there for like racial shit. Wow, a lot of mean people on the internet, huh? And I can only imagine, obviously, because I'm fucking white as fuck. Even if I'm half Cuban, I have the whole white experience, right? I can only imagine what it's like to be Hispanic or to be black or to even be like gay or something, I guess, and having dealt with like targeted shit for your entire life, only based on your race. And then you grow up and you get people like Ben Shapiro or Stefan Molyneux or all these people that are basically saying shit like the white man is the most persecuted man in the world now because there are people in Tumblr that write mean shit about us. And it's like, Jesus fuck. Like that's your perspective there? Like that you're going to go with that one? Man, I don't know, dude. Maybe we can watch like parts of this. So
for 40 years, Jane.
This brown eyes, blue eyes experiment, I don't think Ben Shapiro has ever said that. If you have a source, please show. Ben Shapiro said a lot of fucking retarded shit. It wouldn't surprise me if he said that, but Has he? I don't know if he's ever specifically said that, but
So first of all, let's start with the notion of white privilege, which has become this buzzword that you hear all the time now. White privilege is responsible for everything, up to and including the Kardashians. It's responsible for everything, white privilege. White privilege is a way to silence anybody who is not of color. That's what white privilege is. It's just a leftist bullshit term that means shut up because you are not a member of a minority group, a privileged minority group in the leftist space. It's reverse racism of the highest order. You're basically saying to white people who aren't racist, and you can't find any proof of their racism, that they must be racist because they're white. That is called racism. If you are accusing somebody of something simply because of the color of their skin without any evidence, that's called racism, gang. But you don't have to trust me. Let's go through what other people say the definition of white privilege is. You know, folks on the left, what do they say that white privilege is? Well, here's the definition of white privilege from the Southern Poverty Law Center. There's a book that I'm sure was just a massive bestseller in its day called White Anti-Racist Activism, A Personal Roadmap. And the only person who bought it was the author Jennifer Holliday's mother. But apparently, her mother works for the Southern Poverty Law Center because here's the definition of white privilege that they quote over the SPLC. For people who don't know, the SPLC is an extraordinarily far-left organization that pushes the notion that basically anybody who is conservative and on the right side of the aisle must be a member of a hate group. So here's their definition of white privilege. Quote, white skin privilege is not something that white people necessarily do, create, or enjoy on purpose. Unlike the more overt individual and institutional manifestations of racism, white skin privilege is a transparent preference for whiteness that saturates our society. White skin privilege serves several functions. First, it provides white people with perks that we do not earn and that people of color do not enjoy. Second, it creates real advantages for us. White people are immune to a lot of challenges. And finally, white privilege shapes the world in which we live, the way we navigate and interact with one another and with the world. And when my daughter spits out, she's 22 months old. When she spits out, it sounds like this. So let's talk about the perks. Let's talk about the perks that white privilege supposedly confers upon you. So she says, the author here, she says that perks that are conferred upon you by white privilege include things like when you go to the grocery store and you get a Band-Aid, the Band-Aid is your skin tone. Seriously, is what she says. Right? For those who live in the real world, this is also called the free market because most of the people in the country happen to have a lighter shade of skin. And if you want to sell more Band-Aids, then you're going to market to a group of people who buy more Band-Aids. But no, this is white skin privilege. Another example.
You can't give it a reason for it and then say that it doesn't matter. You gave an explanation for why white privilege exists. You just didn't even say it didn't exist. That wasn't even an argument against what she said. That's like saying black people, so when we go to the movie theaters, 100% of all the people on the screen are white. Well, black people complain about the fact that there's no black people. But in reality, okay, so you're about to challenge this notion by saying there are a lot of black people. There's a lot of white people just because most people that go to the movie theaters are white. You're literally redefining, that's exactly what she just said it was.
She says that if you go to a hotel, that the hotel shampoo works better with your hair if you're white than if you're black. I don't know how she scientifically tested this, but in any case, this is, again, if this is as far as white skin privilege goes, I can tell you nobody should use hotel shampoo because it's gross. And then she talks about the real advantages that are conferred upon you by white skin privileges. So what are those advantages? And this is where it really gets to the meat of the matter. She says those advantages include skin color, quote, not working against me in terms of how people perceive my financial responsibility, style of dress, public speaking.
I can't. One big problem, I'll read this in a second. One problem that I have with okay, so this is something that I've said, hold on, there's a lot of retarded shit being typed in chat. Hispanics doesn't necessarily mean not white. Spaniards are considered Hispanic. Okay, I don't know what word you want to use, okay? But Mexican or whatever you want to use in the United States is a real group of people that are not considered white people. If you think that, you're so fucking stupid that nothing I say can get through to you, okay? If I go anywhere in the United States, I am treated as a white person, okay? If my roommate, if Erin goes somewhere in the United States, she's probably not treated as a white person, okay? Because of the way we look. I don't know what the fuck kind of genetic soul bullshit, I don't know what you're trying to get at with this, but it has no bearing on anything that I've just said, okay? There's an analogy for like how heavy is like a glass of water, okay? If you hold a glass of water out in front of you, like how heavy is it? And it's like it's a bullshit like name me trick question, you know? You can say like, oh, you know, it weighs half a pound or whatever, depending on how big the glass is, you know, some bullshit about that. But what you're getting at is that the longer that you hold it, the more the heavier it gets, right? It's this idea that we have a really bad time at understanding how things impact people over a long time scale. That just dealing, and I can tell like how little somebody has thought about this when they're so quick to write off the little everyday annoyances. And it's funny because if I were to pin them on any other point, or if I were to ask them about experiences in another area of their life, they would be very quick to agree with it. So like, as an example, having somebody say something like, let's say you're a woman, let's say you're a woman in comp sci or engineering, having somebody say something like, oh, wow, you do engineering? Wow, that's really great, and you're a woman. Hearing somebody say that one time is never the problem, okay? Destiny, you're so wrong, cool. Hearing somebody say that one time is never the problem. That's never the thing that triggers you. The problem is when you hear it over and 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 over again, every single fucking day, right? It's when you hear it on a time scale. And this applies to literally everything. Let's say that you work at a grocery store and somebody comes through and they try to ring something up and the item doesn't go through and they say something like, it didn't ring up, so it must be free, right? This is like a joke that is like extremely fucking irritating because you hear it over and over and over again. And it's not like the person is even trying to insult you. It's just like, you hear it and it's just like, okay, like I've heard this like a million times and it's like really retarded. Like it's not funny. Like, please stop saying this. Now imagine somebody saying something like that, but it's actually like an insult against you, you know? I find that people oftentimes don't have this concept of like, what is it like to deal with something over a long period of time? Oh, short people get it. Yeah, I'm sure if you're really short, you probably get it. If you're really tall, you probably get it. If you're really fat, you probably get it. If you're bald, basically, if you've got a tattoo or some shit, I'm sure that anytime, anytime you've got like a feature that stands out or is not necessarily the norm, you probably hear this over and over and over again. So when somebody like Ben Shapiro says something like, "Oh, so you go to the hotel and the shampoo isn't even good for your hair," like, "Oh wow, first world problems or what?" It's like that's not the point. The point isn't just the shampoo, right? The point is that it seems like so many different parts of life are designed not for you in a country that is supposedly part yours, that these feelings over a long period of time can give you a different experience, a different type of experience in the country than another person might have. That, and this is a huge problem for white people to empathize with, that if you're like a white, especially a white man, you've never been told in your entire life, oh, sure, this is another great one. Chris Rock or Dave Chappelle has a really good skit on this where someone just said, "I'm black, but people keep telling me, wow, you're so well-mannered. Most black people I know aren't like you." Fuck. Can I, this is like a really short, like a 1 minute.
A lot of stuff going on. What? Now I don't got no eyes. Then, get that. You know I can tell Colin Powell can't be president? Whenever Colin Powell on the news, white people always give him the same compliments. Always the same compliments. How do you feel about Colin Powell? He speaks so well. He's so well-spoken. He speaks so well. I mean, he really speaks well. He speaks so well. Like, that's a compliment. Speak so well is not a compliment, okay? Speak so well, some shit you say about retarded people that can talk.
Like, this is another one, right? Like if you're black, and you don't speak, it's not called Ebonics anymore. I don't know, right? But people say, like, "Oh, wow, you're really well-spoken." And it's like, okay, thank you, I guess. But yeah, it's like these little experiences over time. If you're a white man, you've never been told that you're not part of America, that you don't belong in America, that you can't do something in America, that there's some part of America that's not for you, that there's some way that you're not supposed to act or something you're not supposed to. Like in general, like it's kind of like the sky's the limit, or right? You can kind of do whatever you want. Whereas sometimes for other groups of people, there's an accumulation of experiences that over long periods of time just kind of make you feel shitty. And it's something that is really hard to understand because you get people like Ben Shapiro that summarize that whole concept as saying like, "Oh, well, you know, if you go to a hotel and they've got shampoo and it doesn't work for your hair, is this really this is your racist problem?" Like, well, no, dude, it's that, you know, plus like a million other small things, you know, plus, yeah. So, like, I guess it's really irritating when I hear, like, a white conservative say things like, "I experience racism a lot now." And it's like, really? What kind of racism do you experience? Like, well, have you seen #whitegenocide on Twitter and on Tinder? Or not Tinder, Tumblr, Twitter and Tumblr? And it's like, wow, okay, that's, okay.
Elliot's been running an exercise that's ignited controversy.
So there's I'm sorry, I watched this and this is just, I don't even think they actually get to do the exercise. Basically, she wants to demonstrate to people what happens over time if you're racist towards a group of people. So she separates out blue eyes and brown eyes, and she has the brown-eyed people intentionally act derogatory towards blue-eyed people. But the thing is that, like, she can't even do this. She can't even do the experiment because the white people in this experiment get so fucking mad. Let me see if I can.
Yes. Damn right. If you want to see a decrease in the level of racism in your society, first thing you have to do is let white people find out how it feels to be on the receiving end of it.
This guy. Here we go, boys. We'll watch some of this.
Jane Elliott's abrasive style is not to everyone's taste. Over the years, it has been criticized as bullying. How do you feel about Jane's style and approach?
This is an educator, a teacher, trying to teach these people what it is like to feel discriminated against. And you think about adults being taught in that way, she's put in a childlike position, which many people don't, well, nobody wants to experience that as an adult. So I do feel that some of her elements are quite harsh.
She's taking something that's been incredibly important to her in her personal life and in her role as a teacher, and she's saying, with this, I can powerfully demonstrate to a set of people what it's like to be the victim of racism and discrimination.
But brown-eyed adults are much tougher to bring into line than children, and Jane Elliott's style soon hits a nerve with some of the white volunteers.
What they learn today, they will either leave in this room or take out of this room in a very positive way.
But these people are people. You're assuming
Now,
that they're
what?
racist. You're assuming they've got a lesson to be learned. You know, we could be racist.
Oh, I'm sure you are.
No,
I'm sure
not
every
racist,
person
but why
in this
assuming
room.
that
Let me.
they-
You didn't listen to me.
You're assuming I've got a racist attitude just because.
You, for like 2 seconds, like you can't even entertain the thought. Maybe there are some things that you do that might bother other people. Like they can't even for 1 second, they can't even fathom that maybe there's something you do, even unintentionally, that might be kind of rude towards other people. Like,
Every
Why are
person
you
in this
assuming
room.
that
You didn't listen to me.
You're assuming I've got a racist attitude just because they're blue eyes.
If you live in the UK.
You're saying that they've got more to learn.
I just think the logic's a bit faulted to try and reduce discrimination, racism.
Listen, Sonny, I
by
don't care
using
what you think.
discrimination,
I don't
racism.
care what you think. You understand that?
But isn't it kind of contradictory?
Do I give a damn? Do I care?
Say-
You trade places with him. Right now.
Why?
Not because I told you to. That's the only reason you need. Go back there.
Yes, sir. Ma'am, well,
Some of us white folks would rather not see white folks verbally, psychologically, mentally, and emotionally abused for a few minutes. Would rather not hear white folks described in an unpleasant way for a few minutes. Did you get that lesson? Did you get that message? Now, if you consider this exercise too evil for you to go through it, then you need to be somewhere else.
I'd much rather be on the blue-eyed side than the aggressor side.
I don't care where you'd rather be. Now, are you going to cooperate or not?
I'm saying I would much rather be on
I'm
the receiving
asking
end
you
than
if you're
as
going to
aggressor.
cooperate or not.
It's an exercise for them to understand.
this is such a
is
bad
what
way of
comes-
delivering, though. This is not how you convince these kinds of people. I mean, maybe, but the problem is that one of the big problems with racism, the way that I described it yesterday was that, like, alt-right people are intentionally racist and then conservatives are accidentally racist. The problem is that there are a lot of people that have a lot of racist thoughts that don't think they're racist, right? They're like, okay, well, you know, I might do this or this or this, but this isn't really a problem, or I don't actually hate gay. Like, the Pogo guy just did it, right? Like, I mean, I've got a lot of gay friends and a lot of women friends, you know? But then the rhetoric they'll employ and the policy positions they'll support and then the other people that they approve of and promote all kind of play into this narrative that at the end of the day leaves you just as fucked as people that are intentionally racist, you know?
To you because of how you look. It's a learning process.
Exercise that removes choice and freedom and
But you
autonomy.
don't have a
from-
choice. I don't have a choice to be a black woman. It was assigned to me when I came into this world. You are a black female.
The choice that I'm talking about is a choice of whether I decide to be an aggressor, to be someone who marginalizes these people.
Look, wait a minute. I don't have time. I do not have time to convince this young man that what we're doing is all right. There's no way I'm going to convince him of that, and I'm not going to spend any more time on it. Get this young man out of here. Now, do any of the rest of you want to leave? Because here are your choices. You're either going to cooperate or you're going to leave. It's as simple as that. I don't have time
You
for
can
this
either
nonsense.
exercise
I
your
don't have
freedom,
time for
or
this
you
nonsense.
can marginalize yourself to that lady there. It's your choice.
I think one or two more people end up, like, rage quitting as well.
And you're going to group, get up here and sit down. Possibly, but she thinks she'll be okay. If we find out later that she isn't okay, who's she going to blame it on?
Us?
Us. So am I going to take that answer?
No.
No. You find that amusing? Don't laugh at her. She makes you look real bad.
The Blues will be put through a series of classroom exercises, basic, even childlike in their simplicity. Jane Elliott has used these over the years with dramatic effect.
Oh.
Her mission is to grind down the blue eyes.
You know what redundancy is? What?
They give you money.
To me, it's not offensive to you. I don't.
Oh, this is
When it happened to
another.
you the last time,
Wait, wait.
Hold on.
What I said about you is true. That you're argumentative, that you're belligerent, that you're uncooperative, that you're uncivilized, that you don't follow the rules, that you want to have things your own way, that you are accustomed to using power, and that you don't understand.
Using your power.
Do you understand what's going on here? Tell them what's going on here. And the tall white male.
Basically, it's a lot of people are totally unaware that discrimination goes on as much as it does.
Hey, I want to know what happens when it happens. When it happened to you the last time.
Wait. No. You don't have to answer that question.
Yes, you do. Say what
No,
you say.
you don't have to answer that question.
When it happens out there in the real
You don't
world,
have to
people
answer
make
that
a stand.
question.
It's against the law, and people make a stand. Now I'm making a stand. Enough.
And guess how much attention I'm going to pay to that.
You have a free choice. You have a free choice.
No.
Who wants to listen to David speak? Don't listen to her. Speak.
She is not running this show. Take her out of here. Take her out of here.
Fine. Don't listen to her.
I understand what you're doing. I'm just saying I don't understand why. I've spent the morning with these people and none of them are racists.
Just because my skin isn't black. I mean, you probably noticed a little bit tubby. I've been discriminated. Yeah, I've been discriminated with that all my life. I still put up with it. I face it. I go into shops and see a nice shirt. Oh dear, they don't do my size. Oh well, I'll have to put up with it, won't I?
You can lose your tubby.
Mm.
But you can't change the colour of your skin.
Unfortunately, there's a small minority that will use the word racism. They bandy it around when it's not. Let's use the word political correctness. You're not allowed to use the word gollywog anymore. To me, it's not offensive to you. I don't fuck bar black shit. What's that about? What's strange is that you've got the blue-eyed people actually sort of arguing that racism isn't a problem.
Yeah, the blue-eyed people are defending the system. They're saying, you know, we all have to suffer. It's difficult for all of us. You know, the guy's saying, well, I can't get the right size shirts. You know, this kind of thing. And they're still not recognising the difference in the scale of what's being experienced by minority groups as opposed to what most people in society are putting up with, which are minor inconveniences by comparison.
So I'm sensing, do people really understand what is racism? The group of the blue eyes are white people. They're living in their world. So we're asking them to live in a world of what it's like to be black or Asian, which is quite difficult to do in 2 hours. So in their minds, it's like, well, racism doesn't exist, but it doesn't exist to them.
Reluctant to speak out. Do you think this is going to plan? Is this how it's supposed to be?
I don't think it's going quite according to plan, in the sense that usually by this point you'd expect the blue eyes to be more crestfallen, and you might expect the brown eyes to be getting more energised about criticising them.
The Browns aren't joining in a lot, though, are they?
No. And I think that probably represents which country you're doing this exercising. Whereas America, there is a strong divide, or Australia or South Africa. In this country, it's more subtle. So even though they may have an opinion, they're sort of keeping it quiet to themselves.
Do you get angry about racism?
No.
You don't?
No. I was brought up by my mum, who's white, grandma who's white, my auntie who's white, my cousin who's white. I mean, my family is white. So the only thing that isn't white is my appearance, in terms of my mannerisms and everything else. So I play the game, and part of my playing the game is avoiding the situations where somebody could have a negative stereotype of me based on my name, what I look like. And I think
this guy has to go through later where I think he says he sends his wife to pick up his daughter from school because she goes to a really good school because he doesn't want to be seen picking her up because he doesn't want the other kids to make fun of her for having a black dad.
Short back and side haircut. He looks immaculately groomed. He's actually a rugby player from way back. He's happy wearing sloppy old jumpers. He used to have his hair longer.
Is he white?
We have to conform as well.
Is he white?
That's not so.
Oh.
Therefore, I believe that most, if not all, of the people at that school think she's white. If I turn up, yeah, then the children will see a different...
And treat her differently.
And again, it's not necessarily because these kids are ignorant, it's because these kids live in an environment that's wholly of white people. I chose to play the game.
That's right.
That's it.
We have to play the game. There is this game we have to play to get by.
White people play the game as well. My ex-husband, for example, is in the sporting environment. He's taking on top quality customers, the RAF, people like that. But he conforms. He has to wear a business suit. He has to wear a tie. He has to speak beautifully. He has his short back and side haircut. He looks immaculately groomed. He's actually a rugby player from way back. He's happy wearing sloppy old jumpers. He used to have his hair longer.
Wow! Oh!
We have to conform as well.
Is he white?
That's not
so,
conforming.
you're talking about conforming. He would conform to pick up my daughter from her school. He would not turn up looking like a scruff bag with long hair, bad clothes, bad breath, unwashed, bad shoes.
That's the comparison. Like, we have to conform by dressing up nicely because we can't show up with bad breath and bad clothes. Like, is that the default of like what you compare somebody that's non-white to? That's showing up, like, I don't understand what this comparison is. Like, it's so...
He looks immaculately groomed. He's actually a rugby player from way back. He's happy wearing sloppy old jumpers. He used to have his hair longer.
Is he white?
We have to conform as well.
Is he white?
That's not
so,
conforming.
you're talking about conforming. He would conform to pick up my daughter from her school. He would not turn up looking like a scruff bag with long hair, bad clothes, bad breath, unwashed, bad shoes. No, it's exactly the same. You're talking about your school environment with your daughter, my school environment with my
We all
daughter.
agree that it's not the same.
It's not the same. It's not the same.
Destiny doesn't get it because he's not a rugby player.
Yes.
Maybe to a lesser
Let's agree. Let's agree to disagree.
But there was the assumption that racism is only particular for people who are black. And I don't actually agree with that. I think there's racism for white people just as much. I've been in this situation many times.
School teacher, by the way.
Where I've had remarks made about my person, the fact that I'm white, that I'm blonde, that I'm getting old or whatever. I've come across just as much discrimination in my life as possibly many black people have.
But it's interesting now that the brown eye group are actually talking up. You know, the blue eyes were obviously saying, this is where I stand, I don't agree with this. And the brown eyes saying, no, listen, these are the experiences that we have had, and making relation to what people are actually saying in the blue eyes.
So what do you think this tells us then about discrimination in Britain?
In Britain, you've got an establishment with power, and that establishment, people are part of it, the rules, the laws that we have, things that people take for granted as being fair, but they privilege a certain set of people more than everybody else. So it's not that we have one particular racial group that everybody's racist against, it's that there are many minority groups, all of which are disadvantaged by this system of power.
But you might walk away from this and say the white people in the blue-eyed group are just in denial.
I totally agree, because there's a sense of like, well, we're not racist and racism doesn't happen. Because the discourse now is that people are feeling, whether you're black, white, Asian, everyone feels they're being discriminated against. But what people are failing to recognise is the issue of power. And this is what Jane is trying to present, but they're not actually quite getting that right now.
But Jane Elliott is undeterred, and the segregation of the two groups continues during the food break.
So this is a skit, right?
As the Blues are kept...
No, so these guys were all brought in to do some sort of thing, some sort of group thing, but they weren't told exactly what it was going to be, so they were not prepared for this.
Together and fed basic sandwiches, the Browns are given the freedom to enjoy a buffet.
And look what they're getting. Have you looked?
They're getting cordon bleu and we get a few sarnies.
This is where it takes the piss, actually.
It's not just the Blues who are feeling hard done by. Over in the brown-eyed group, the black volunteers feel there is a lesson to be learnt. But one of the white volunteers doesn't think it's fair to label all whites as racist.
I'm getting drawn into something that I don't want to argue about because I don't want to see other people abused. But you are saying that just because you are black, only black people experience racism. I grew up in a country full of people where there weren't any white people. I understand racism just like you understand racism. I don't have to be black to understand what it feels like to be a black person. You don't have to be white to. You can still empathise with people.
When we first started, most of the people in the Blues were in complete denial.
And now?
And then some shifted, and some
Everyone
still,
but maybe
and then
two or
some
three.
still, some are like this. Some have gotten up and walked out because they refuse to walk in our shoes for 2 hours.
It's being picked on, it's being bullied.
Like, if you become
being a different...
you're closing yourself off.
Oh, that's rubbish. That's absolutely rubbish. It just means it affects you.
She's like about to cry. She's like in tears, like, I'm not racist. Ah!
The way it is. The exercise is not over. Do you understand that? Because the blue-eyed people don't.
So there is more abuse to come if that's what you prefer to call it. So,
I just want to have a laugh. She wanted people to understand what black people were going through, but she didn't want to understand what anybody else was going through.
Like, oh my God, like, she just wants to understand. She just wants to talk about black people experiencing racism. What about the white people that have to unintentionally be racist, though? She doesn't care about what we think. Like,
I hate people putting other people down. It's wrong, and I don't like it. You know, it's not about being black or white to me, and I think it was a bigger issue. It wasn't just about... She made it too simple. She was separating us. There were black people and there were white people, and that was, as far as she concerned, that's all it was.
Jane Elliott's beliefs and methods have always been controversial. Is this bullying? Or is her unpopular approach revealing there is more racism beneath the surface than we think?
Once you start thinking, oh, everybody's looking at me, I'm different. Everybody's got it in.
How are they? Nearly as many of them as us, so they're not different. Nobody's...
all right, I'm sorry, hold on. Hey, my dude, this is from Black Fuchsia. Hey, my dude, exams are over. I'm lit as fuck. Heading to Prez in a bit. Shout out to Steven at DGG. Add my Snapchat for dank memes. BR00GAN. Brogan. Nice job, buddy. And then he donated again. I said, don't silence me, you dumb motherfucker. But I did silence him. I'm sorry.
But in my class, 1/3 of my class are black children. Then I've got a bunch of...
Do you think that people don't want to believe or simply really don't get it? I think that when you approach somebody and you tell them that something that they feel is wrong, I think that your default reaction is to become incredibly defensive. That it is very, very hard for somebody to come up to you and say, hey, you're wrong about this thing, and then to go, oh, okay, well, maybe I am wrong. Let me consider your opposing point of view and see if it's actually correct. Instead, the default is, hey, you might be incorrect about this thing. No, I'm not wrong. You're wrong. You're attacking me. This is bullshit. What you're saying isn't true. I'm not even really like that. You're not being fair, right? This is the type of, this is like the default response to criticism, is to usually double down on your default position and then to shut out the person that is criticizing you.
Half-caste children. I've got one little girl who's stunningly beautiful. She fell over, scraped all her face. I admit I was slightly surprised that where she scraped all her face, it's all pink underneath. Right? Did I expect it to be black? I don't know.
So what you're saying is that everything that people of color say to you isn't true. It's their imagination. They're paranoid. They aren't paranoid. They know what's happening to them.
Throughout the day, Jane Elliott has divided the group by eye colour. But a bigger division has emerged between the white and black volunteers.
What would your mom be like in this experiment? My mom would have been that first guy that was out saying that it's bullshit that that they're treating all white people as racist and that this whole experiment is a bunch of shit.
Over what racism is. Do you think this whole exercise is able to deal with the subtle...
How do you react to something you feel is right being told you are wrong? Does it depend who says it to you, or does the topic matter? I think that because of my upbringing, for whatever fucking reason, I don't know why, I like to soak myself in communities that disagree with me. So, I mean, if I'm wrong about something, I usually find out pretty quickly, and I kind of can't ignore it after a while. I like to test my ideas against a lot of people that disagree with me. That's why I hang out in that fucking shit-ass vegan Discord server and shit, or read a lot of comments about me, because I figure like if enough people are saying a certain thing, it gives me pause to think about it. I don't know. I mean, I think that engaging with criticism of yourself or your ideas is a very important thing to do, and that if you're not capable of doing that, then you'll never actually change your mind about anything. I think that's really important.
Of racism in 2009. The racism that isn't...
Yeah, to be fair, I'm also kind of a sort of public figure, so my views are under more scrutiny as well. However, there are public figures who never scrutinize their own views also, so I don't know.
In your face, that's under the surface, that you may not spot, you may not notice.
No, the point isn't to be subtle. The point is to be brutal and show the brutality of discrimination as it happens, not individual to individual, but system to person. So how people suffer as a result of an unfair system.
For Jane Elliott's final flourish, everyone will sit an intelligence test. But she's rigged it, so the blue eyes will fail.
Brown-eyed people, move your chairs back away from these people, because if they can see your papers, they'll cheat.
To guarantee this, she's already given the Browns half the answers and told them...
Do your parents look / get treated as Hispanic or Caucasian like you? My mom, even my mom, who's 100% Cuban, looks very white. So she probably had a pretty whitish experience growing up, I would imagine. But there is like a group of immigrants that made it, and there's a survivorship bias that can cause them to become like the most nationalistic or unintentionally racist people, which is what my whole extended family was like. I've told this story before. This actually drives me crazy. When I was at my family's for Christmas, one of my big regrets in life is not knowing a second language. I have a lot of respect for anybody that can speak a second language. I think it's awesome that you can speak 2 languages. It's so cool. It's just so cool for so many different reasons. And half my family is fluent in Spanish. You know, my mom is fluent in Spanish. My uncle, who came over a lot and lived with us for a while, is fluent in Spanish. But my mom never taught me Spanish growing up, and that kind of sucks, you know. And I remember when we were at our table. When we were at the table talking, I mentioned something. I was like, man, I don't know. Oh, because my great-grandma, Nemesito, I think is his name. Not great-grandpa, but like great-uncle. I think my grandpa's brother or great-grandpa's brother, I don't remember, was over at her house, and he can only speak Spanish. And I said something at the table, something along the lines of like, man, I wish I could speak Spanish, you know, so I could talk to my grandpa or whatever. And everybody at that table got so fucking mad. My aunt, of course, who is very Cuban, much more Spanish than even my mom, you know, her and my brother, who is very Filipino. Let's see if I can find a picture of him, actually. Is his name? Well, maybe not very. But like, hold on, let me see. Well, let's see if you guys think, would you guys consider this person white? I don't know. Hold on, let me check. Don't show. I can't show a picture of my brother? He's my brother, right? Yeah, he's real old. Fuck it, this one is fine, I guess. Would you consider somebody like this white or half, or what would you consider somebody like this to look like? Black, half Mexican. Okay, so like not like you wouldn't look at this guy and think that he's like pure white, right? Like this is some type of mixture at least, right? Whereas for me, if you're looking at a picture of me, I think you would assume that I'm 100% white. Like that would be your like an easy default assumption if you see me. I'm trying to find a picture of my sister. Fuck, hold on. My whole perception of like what is white and not is kind of skewed, I guess, because I know these people as my family. And so would you consider, so here's my sister, would you consider her to be like white or mixed or? Not white, hella mixed. Okay, I think they're both Filipino. I think their mom was Filipino. Okay, cool. All right, yeah, just making sure. So, okay. Yeah, so these guys are clearly living the like the non-white, like they're not white people, right? So I'm at the table and I mentioned this, and then my aunt, my brother, my sister, and then my brother's wife, who is Puerto Rican, okay? Very. No, actually El Salvadorian, I think, actually. She's El Salvadorian. And all of them get so fucking mad as soon as I say that. They're talking about like my brother's wife starts saying shit like, "Oh no, baby, this is America. You only need English here. You should never have to learn Spanish." My aunt said the same thing, like, "I don't know why anybody speaks Spanish here. Like, this is disgusting, blah, blah, blah. Like, you should never have to learn." And everyone at the table. And I literally am just saying that like, oh, like it'd be cool if I had like the second language is Spanish. And everybody at this table is like horribly dead set against like, oh, like we never teach our kids Spanish. Like, I don't know. I don't think either of my brother's children speak Spanish. Like, definitely none of my sister's kids speak Spanish. Like, all of these people like hardcore fucking dead set against learning Spanish because you're an American and you don't need another language. Holy fuck. I think I just brought this up as like the example of like sometimes you get like the first generation immigrants and their children can be very much like hardcore nationalistic, hardcore like this kind of survivorship bias that like all the Spanish and all that shit is like so wrong and everything. Like, oh fuck. Yeah. Yikes.
To keep it quiet. For the first time, the Blues offer no resistance.
Hopefully it makes them aware there's no way to win.
Do they live in Florida? It might be a little more accommodating for Hispanic people there, especially in South Florida. Yeah, they live in, now they live around Miami. Although when my mom and her family moved over, when my grandma, Cecilia, when she moved over with her children, which would have been my mom, and I don't know if her daughter was born yet, but my mom and maybe her daughter, they moved to New York originally. So then eventually they moved. That's why my aunt was an NYPD cop. Then my mom joined the Air Force. My brother did drugs her brother did drugs. My uncle did drugs. My uncle Rob did drugs and a bunch of crazy fucking shit. And then they all kind of went their separate ways. And then now they're coalescing in Florida, which is where all the retired people go to die, I guess.
They're in a lose-lose situation. And they become resigned to the fact that they have no power. And it's just
my mom wasn't a cop. Her sister was. My aunt was NYPD.
There's nothing I can do about it.
But one white volunteer in the Brown Eyes is about to derail the test.
Whose test is this?
Hazel.
Hazel's. Where's your test?
Underneath.
Are you checking it at the same time?
No.
Why not?
Because why should I? Why do I have to? What's the relevance?
Let me make it relevant for you. This broad doesn't think she has to check her test.
We cheated on the test, so I don't see why we should be marking it. Well, you gave us the answers.
You didn't cheat on the test.
So why should I mark it when I know that you've cheated?
Wait just a damn minute. You can, as a white woman, prevent white people from learning for as long as you think you can get away with it. Has that fool learned anything yet?
She's preventing other people from learning.
She's working hard at it, isn't she?
Turns out Destiny is the cutest person in his family, Nathaniel.
Nice.
With the final task thrown off course, the division between white and black surfaces once again.
Here was an opportunity to carry out an exercise and see how people reacted and learn from that. But instead, what we got was sabotage. Of the situation. It's not. It's clearly. I think we all understand that this is an exercise. There were issues.
Now we will never know, will we? This controlled environment is about racism, or is about being an underdog because of something you have no control over.
The fact that they can't even do the test. I know that it's just like one thing, and I'm curious if maybe if these results have happened in more tests. But like the fact that for even like just for what, like a day, they can't do like just a little demonstration on this is like insane. Holy shit.
Sometimes the system is stacked against you, and those in power may be operating in a way to put you in a disadvantaged position.
Jane Elliott brings her exercise to a close. After 10 hours of struggle, Has the exercise revealed the reality of life in modern Britain is still very different for white and black people?
For 2 hours?
63 years old, and I've seen England change so much. You know, for me, it's so difficult because all of a sudden, you know, we've got this multiracial society. It wasn't there when I was a kid, when I was a teenager even. And my kids accept it. They're amazing. I'm the one that genuinely has a great difficulty with it. But I'm learning. And today I think I've learned so much. Thank you.
For me, I didn't need to ever change my opinions. I walked in there as a person who feels very, very strongly about any form whatsoever of that kind of behaviour demonstrated by, whether it's one of my friends, one of the children in my class, whatever. I've always felt passionately about that. So I didn't need converting. And to be treated as if I was this pariah who was out there was unacceptable anyway. So I wouldn't pay lip service to her. And my comments at the end were more how disappointed I was.
I've been in occasions where people have told a joke and everybody has laughed and nobody realised that that was a racist comment apart from me. So so you can be in a situation where it goes completely over your head because it doesn't affect you. So because it doesn't affect you, it doesn't exist, and that's not the case. You've just not noticed.
To be fair, this is a super explicitly constructed environment. Like, everything that happens is made to happen by the woman leading the study, so it's a lot easier to find fault with it versus finding fault with society. Well, yeah, but the point that you can't even, like, entertain the idea for even a couple hours. I don't know. That bothers me. I just want to play zombie games. I don't know why we got off on this. Fuck me, dude. Her boy. Oh, I guess it's not her boyfriend. I guess it's her husband. Really? An insult is an insult, Steven. There's really no scale. It's up to the soft individual with sensitivity issues. We call snowflakes. You're somewhat sensitive on this. Are you really related to my lovely wife? Just kill me, dude. That failed when I'm too sensitive. Oof. That teacher was surprised that under a colored girl's skin, she bled the same. I know, and she said... I was really surprised that one of the black little girls fell down and scraped her face, and it was pink underneath. It wasn't all black. Also, you know, I didn't come in here with any bad thoughts or ideas. I didn't need to do anything here. I'm not going to pay lip service to this woman. Like, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck? Ah, dude. Yeah, okay, we're done with all that. Oh, somebody linked me that shitty bench shit Piro video. Okay. Do you reckon your fam is so against speaking Spanish because they want to avoid being the stereotypical immigrant who refuses to integrate? No, they want to speak Spanish because they fucking love America and they fucking hate the country they came from. And then they have to love everything in America by association, and they have to hate everything from Cuba by association.
This is fucking ridiculous. None of these people could even take 2 hours of their day to watch a 40 minutes analysis of Phantom Pain. I wanna laugh. That's just so crazy. These people are just never gonna get it.
Debunked.
I'm an ACLU guy. I'm a First Amendment absolutist.
Okay, I don't care. I need to eat, okay? I'm hungry.
Excuse me. Could I maybe get that headset, please?
Do not raise your voice to me, sir.
I wasn't raising my voice.
Okay, just calm down.
I am calming.
Holy shit, that's the dude from The Shining.
Just want my headset.
Sir, our country is going through a very difficult time right now, and if you're not going to cooperate...
I don't know where a headset ties into patriotism.
Is there a problem here, sir?
I don't think so.
Can you come to the back of the plane with me so we can have a talk?
But talk about what? There's not a problem. The stewardess just keeps...
Flight attendant.
The flight attendant keeps ignoring me when I ask...
Calm down.
I am calm. What is it with you people?
You people.
Oh, now wait a minute. I don't mean you people. I mean you people.
Sir, I will not tolerate any racist behavior on the plane. This is a very difficult time for our country.
I know.
Wait, what is the time? I've never seen this movie. Anger management. What is the time for our country? What is it like? Is it like 9:12?
I'm not a racist. I just want to watch the movie.
I'm only going to say this one more time, sir. Calm down.
I'm calm!
That's Michael Scott's wife? Wait, was that the same actress lady?
Excuse me. Could I maybe get that headset, please?
Do not raise your voice to me, sir.
I wasn't.
Wait, is it? Adam Sandler isn't remotely funny? Listen, he had some hits and misses, okay?
Someone tell me the reason I'm in the chaos dimension, trapped in a brutal adventure.
This sounds like the Scott Pilgrim band.
Let's bring in Ben Shapiro. He's the editor-in-chief of the Daily Wire syndicated column.
Oh no. 2 days ago. Yikes.
And the host of the Ben Shapiro Show. And he joins us live on the couch.
Good to see you guys.
Good to see you too.
Yeah, thank you.
So to talk about violence in that area is not unique. The Iron Dome activated. What's the message there?
Well, I mean, look again, peaceful Palestinians firing peaceful mortars at Israelis in kindergarten.
I can't listen to his fucking anything. Anytime he's talking about Israel and that apologism, I can't do it. When does the rest of the interview start? I'm actually gonna fucking throw up. It even shows up with his little fucking yarmulke. Oh, fuck this shit. I can't do it.
Indiscriminately into crowds. It's just nonsense and the ball. I mean, during that actual
Using children as shields. They're using President Trump for that. It turns out those pictures were taken when President Obama was in office. So some of these reporters were taking down the pictures. There's the picture right there. And we asked Kellyanne Conway about it earlier. This is what she had to say.
This is actually the CNN fight she had on the same thing, because they're accusing the president of separating families at the border. That's a policy that was already in place, and they're looking at ending this. So here's these kids. Listen.
Why did the CNN reporter retweet that false fake tweet about the migrant children being in cages? Why did your CNN colleague retweeted the 2 migrant children, I suppose, laying in a cage to make the point against this president? It happened under President Obama's watch, and then deleted the tweet because it didn't fit the narrative.
You saw this exchange all night with celebrities forwarding this tweet.
There's a former member of the Obama administration who'd actually put out the tweet as well, and then had to delete the tweet after realizing that it was his administration that had done it. Again, not surprising. It's as though President Trump has somehow become the earworm from Wrath of Khan that's gotten into the media's brain, into the Democrat brain, it's completely warped them, because it is so.
Why would people think that Trump is anti-immigrant? The guy that literally wants to build a wall across the southern border. But we can deconstruct that whole narrative by saying that somebody fucked up by tweeting a dumb picture and people retweeted it before checking it when it was. Okay, nice.
Obvious that this has been a problem going all the way back to the Obama administration. He's not wrong when the president suggests that it's not as though he has a choice about separating parents from children. If he actually wants to arrest illegal immigrants at the border, there is no choice, because the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals has ruled that he has to separate children from their parents. He can't keep the kids with their parents in detention. That's the problem. If the Democrats wanted to solve on this, they want a solution on this, they could get one tomorrow. They don't want a solution on this because they do want these pictures. They want more of these pictures. They want more kids who are in a problematic situation like this, so they can blame President Trump and then claim that it's his cruelty that's the cause of all
Good for her, though, for calling out that reporter and saying, what are you doing over there? If you're going to lie, I want you to explain why you're doing this.
Unironically, ever congratulating Kellyanne Conway about fucking anything. Holy shit.
The reporter didn't have an answer.
Well, I'm not sure CNN has any answers about spies against President Trump.
Nope, they've been exposed. There's a new talking point from the left as well. A couple of representatives saying the Republicans that support this president, they're bums. Listen.
At the end of the day, there's only one remedy for that, and that is you need to throw the bums out. As long as there's a majority in Congress that is willing to do this president's will, and as long as we have a deeply unethical president, there's only one remedy.
Well, I think ranking membership's point is that if they are not willing to be open to having their minds changed about holding the president accountable, then their seats are going to have to be changed. You're actually worse than bums if you're not willing to stand up to a president. I think people are pretty fed up, and they want to see people start to stand up to the president.
So he's telling the Republicans how they should act with the Republican president, rather than put their agenda. Tell me what you're doing.
Well, I do love that Adam Schiff, who's actually set up a pup tent at media centers. He doesn't even go to Congress anymore. He just sits there in the green room. He actually has food brought to him by
the members by the hundreds.
It's unbelievable. And then he's the one who's calling the Republicans bums for actually attempting to get legislation done on a variety of issues. The problem for Democrats is that really all they have in 2018 is how much they hate President Trump. They do not have an agenda. They fall into the politics of intersectional identity politics. It's all nasty stuff, and there's a reason.
Imagine using just your hatred for a person or a group of people to power your way through an election. There's no way that could ever work, right? Could you imagine just powering a campaign with your hatred for certain groups of people? There's no way that could be like a powerful motivator to get people to actually get out to the polls, right? Well, I'm trying to think of a time in American history, or at least in my lifetime, where anybody has ever been so motivated by their distaste for a group of people where they would actually just go out and vote just for that reason. I don't know. Maybe before I was born.
lead has shrunk in the average polls from 13 points down to about 3. The momentum is not on their side. That blue wave looks like it's barely going to be a ripple at this point.
Ben, would you also say, too, that they can't get past another program? They have a program. They think it's going to be healthcare. If you look at the studies, the average American, Republican, Democrat, cares most about healthcare because it's in tatters. We're in between programs, and the one that was not working starts to fray. And they want to move forward with the leadership, like Schumer and Pelosi are going, stop talking impeachment, stop talking Russia. But nobody else is even listening to their own leadership.
Well, they're stuck with their base, and their base right now is so adamant that Trump is an illegitimate president and it must have been Russian collusion. Something must have happened to have caused all of this, that there's going to be some Deus Ex Machina, something's going to come in from the sky and save them from President Trump, that all they can do at this point is talk impeachment and Republicans are bums, because if they actually start proposing policy, well, that would mean they're normalizing the president by actually having normal policy discussions.
And then when they talk about healthcare, Brian, your point, they talk about healthcare for all for free.
Right. It's Bernie Sanders
single payer. It's out of control.
All right, Ben, thank you so much.
Hey, good to see you.
So smart.
Good to be here. Appreciate it.
Alternatively, Democrats have no solid platform at the moment. Like, I hate Trump, but I have no clue what the Democrat platform is right now. Well, because the Democrat platform is pretty much anti-Trump at the moment, which is a problem going forward. But for election times, having a person to hate is probably a really good motivator to get people to the polls. I think there is a divide. I don't keep up as much with Democrat politics, but there's probably a divide right now in the Democrat Party between progressives and like the traditional Democrats. But I think the schisms occurring in the Republican Party are much worse at the moment. I wish I had a way to quantify that. I guess I'm just going by how Congress acts when you've got like is Paul Ryan out now, or is he still in? He's still in, right? When is he done? He did really announce his retirement, right? Like he is for sure done. He's not running for re-election. It's coming up in these next midterms, right? When you got like the Ryans and the McConnells that are like so divisive against he didn't resign. He's like not running again, right? When you've got like the McConnells and the Ryans that are fighting so hard against Trump, and Trump's inability to like bring his base together for certain types of legislative action, like the healthcare stuff. I mean, like there is evidence that there's a pretty big divide in terms of the Republican Party right now, right? With the pro-Trump and then the Republican, traditional Republican, and then like new Republicans.
Less than
like
3 deaths to send by.
Hold on one second. The Freedom Caucus has created a crazy divide. Yeah, and I'm sure there's still like some Tea Partiers like hanging in there somewhere. Like, it feels like there's a lot of different like pretty big movements or like schisms in the Republican Party right now that pull like in pretty disparate directions as well. Like I don't know how big the divide is between, say, a progressive Democrat versus like a traditional Democrat. You know, like progressives push for some things a little bit harder, like $15 an hour minimum wage. Maybe things related to like social issues. But like other than that, like what are your huge dividing points between progressives and traditional Democrats? Progressives are more in favor of people like Bernie. Progressives are probably a little bit more anti-establishment than traditional, so progressives would probably be like a little bit less in favor of like Clintons or Kennedys or something, as opposed to newer, fresher people. Maybe you could argue that. However, pro and anti-Trumples in the Republican Party, I think, are incredibly divided. That loving Trump and hating Trump is a massive divide in the Republican Party, and I don't know how that's going to be bridged. Immigration, DACA, sanctuary cities. Are there really traditional Democrats that are opposed to DACA or even sanctuary cities? Is that actually true? Even if Republicans are divided now, they'll come together for the polls to vote against things they hate rather. Yeah, but the big problem is that pro-Trump Republicans are politically fucking retarded. That's the problem, is that Trump doesn't know how to do politics. So when it comes to picking good candidates, when it comes to running your platform in an efficacious manner, when it comes to making the right political decisions, Trump can't do it. He can't work with the people that he needs to work with. He can't get people on his side that he needs to have on his side. He's kind of just like he rode that populist wave and I don't know, he's got to hope that his base comes out hardcore and doesn't continue to kind of wither because, fuck, he's so bad at politics. Holy shit. Dems don't oppose DACA, but they aren't motivated by it as opposed to the more left-wing Dems. Yeah, sure, maybe. But again, like, I don't know if that's like a huge divide. Establishment Dems ride on the assumption that they're pro-DACA, et cetera, but they never really fight, which is a massive problem for progressives. Oh, one big dividing issue, but it's not really talked about much. I'm willing to bet that like campaign finance reform and shit is probably going to be a big dividing issue. I don't think traditional Democrats are in favor of like huge campaign finance reform in the way that progressives would probably make that a massive thing. That was a big, yeah, somebody brought up Wall Street. I think that plays into that. That would be a massive divide, I bet, between progressives and establishment Democrats that Bernie kind of exposed. But people don't really talk about that as much right now, so. Establishment Democrats are in favor of that. Look at the push for McCain, Feingold Act on the Dem side. Nice. Holy shit. What are your thoughts on Dems needing to play hardball if they get into power? It's like Republicans are cutthroat, denying Obama's Supreme Court justice for paying. Dude, I don't know how Democrats counteract that. The problem is that, like, morality is kind of baked a little bit into the Democrat platform where you have to kind of be like a good person or some shit. Like, for whatever reason, that's important to Democrats, and it really hurts Democrats. I don't know what the solution is there, you know? When you've got people that like Trump that are literally like, grab him by the pussy, and then you've got people like Al Franken that is part of like comedy skits and maybe like a long time ago did some kind of inappropriate action, like he resigns and Trump like unabashedly like says, fuck that shit. Or like Roy Moore, you know, is appointed in Alabama, or there was a Republican governor that just recently stepped down, although that was after his second fucking scandal. Yeah, I don't know. Republicans are way more tenacious when it comes to playing the political game because Republican people don't care about the morality of their people as long as they're on their team. Whereas I think Democrats and left-leaning people in general are a lot more purity testing of other left people. Like, if you're a left person, but you're not left enough, then fuck you, get out of my group. Whereas if you're a right-leaning person, even if you've had a fucking mistress and you're a pro-life candidate and you had to get an abortion and you're fucking gay kids in the goddamn bathroom, as long as it's not like 100% evidence, you know, it's all part of the libs' plan to take you down. You're cool. Like, you're still in my fucking party, you know? Was it? Yeah, it was the Missouri governor who stepped down. That is a horrible mischaracterization of the right. Stop. Nope. That is a totally accurate characterization of the right. The right defends horrible fucking people. Sorry. Nope. You can't get away with that. If you call yourself a Republican, you gotta fucking eat that or fucking end your online presence in politics. I'm sorry, but when you are on the right, those people have stood by some fucking atrocious fucking people. Okay? Nope. Sorry. Yep, you guys have to accept the Sarah Palins in your life, the Nunez's in your life. Nope, that's on you guys. Sorry, fuck that shit. It seems like the moral methods of doing things are so much less effective. Yeah, of course, because they're not politically expedient. Yeah, the Roy Moores, the Bush administration. The NRA, fuck that shit. Okay. Can I go eat? That's a mischaracterization because those were all liberal lies. Yeah. Okay. Destiny has this inherent bias against Republicans because he grew up with them. He doesn't understand their viewpoints at all. I promise you that I could articulate probably every Republican viewpoint better than you can. But nice try, dude. Do you want to come on and talk about it? What? I used to be a hardcore Republican for a long time and was even a libertarian up to like fucking 4 or 5 years ago. So I promise that any Republican viewpoint I can articulate very well. Destiny, Noam Chomsky. The Republican Party is the most dangerous organization in human history. But isn't Noam Chomsky a communist, socialist, leftist, Maoist, atheist? Somebody asked if the Dems had to do the same thing with Bill Clinton. I mean, Bill Clinton did a pretty shitty thing. He cheated on his wife. How did they actually vote on that? Impeachment vote, Democrat versus Republican, Bill Clinton. I was too young for this shit. All 45 Democrats in the Senate voted not guilty on both charges. The 5 Republican senators who voted against conviction on both charges were John blah, blah, blah. So it looks like this is a pretty partisan vote on both sides. Bill was just in an open relationship. The impeachment was an obstruction of justice, I thought. Well, I'm pretty sure it was on perjury. I'm pretty sure he perjured himself, didn't he? Because he lied under oath about it. Told alternative facts under oath. That was that a Kellyanne Conway?
The Democrats gave up on the working class 40 years ago. It's just the working class is not their constituency. No one in the political system is. The Republicans claim to be, but they're basically their class enemy. However, they can appeal to people on the basis of claims about religion, white supremacy.
So you think there was quite a racist motivation?
There's no doubt about that.
Are we talking 3% of the voters, 30%? Or?
Percent you can argue about. It's a substantial streak. Fundamentalist religion is a substantial streak. Trump took an enormous quantity of the Christian fundamentalists, who are a big segment of the U.S. population. I remember in the United States, about maybe 40% of the population. I think the second coming is going to be in their lifetimes. 2/3 think it's coming sooner or later. The United States is off the spectrum in this respect.
Do you think Trump will do much damage while he's there? And will it be permanent damage to the institutions of the U.S., or do you think he'll be temporary?
The main damage he'll do is to the world, and it's already happening. The most significant aspect of the Trump election, and it's not just Trump, it's the whole Republican Party, is they're departing from the rest of the world on climate change.
You called the Republican Party the most dangerous organization on earth.
In human history. There has never, it's an outrageous statement, and when I said it,
Donald Trump isn't far right. He's been a moderate Democrat most of his life. So I do agree that putting Donald Trump on a left-right spectrum is kind of doesn't make sense. Saying the Republican Party is worse than ISIS discredits his old fart automatically. Well, I'm guessing that if he's saying the Republican Party is worse than ISIS, he probably means they have more influence, because ISIS really means fuck all on the world stage, whereas the Republican Party is influencing American politics, which is very important on the world stage. The Democrats are obviously more authoritarian because they support bigger government. I don't think authoritarianism has anything to do with a bigger government. I thought that had to do with like a leading organization that doesn't take power from the people or whatever. Is a form of government characterized by strong central power and limited political freedoms. Individual freedoms are subordinated to the state, and there's no constitutional accountability under an authoritarian regime. You can still have a really large government that is still like very, very much held accountable through democratic measures, so I don't know how that makes you automatically more authoritarian. Someone give this bag of bones his pudding cup and send it back. I don't know if Macron is an outsider or not. I don't know fuck all about French politics, or if he was an outsider or not before he won.
I said, look, this is a very outrageous statement, but is it true?
But you're rating them worse than the Kim Jong-un of North Korea or ISIS, who are very...
Is ISIS dedicated to trying to destroy the prospects for organized human existence?
Right, is that bad?
Well, what does it mean to say, not only we're not doing anything about climate change, but we're trying to accelerate the race to the precipice?
And you don't entertain the possibility
that they may be genuine in their belief that this is...
You think that we're going to die in like 20 or 30 years? Do you think climate change is going to fuck our shit up? I've had a couple people email me like different shit that's like pretty... like shit that makes it look like in the next like 10 years we're gonna see some like really fucked shit, like that it's gonna be like soon, like in 5 to 10 years we're gonna start to see some really fucking horrible runaway effects. Climate change is such an issue that it's almost literally the only problem that exists at the moment. Yeah, I've heard. What's the argument for that? Like, are we talking flooding or the atmosphere breaking? Well, so like the big problem. Oh God, I'm not qualified to talk about this. I need to read more on it. But from what I am aware of, the big problem. Oh, actually, hold on. So let's watch. Is it the Arctic ice or is it the Antarctic? So this is a video of the measuring the sea ice. Okay.
In this animation, we're taking Arctic sea ice into the third dimension. Here, we're looking at the ice age, which is an indicator of thickness. Generally, older ice is thicker ice. And so what you see in this animation is, first of all, the ice pulsing out and in with the seasons. In winter, the ice grows out and expands outward. In summer, it contracts inward as it melts. In addition, you see the whiter ice, which is the older ice, moving around the Arctic, being pushed around by winds and currents that move the ice. And what you can see is, over the years, the ice pulses around and it moves around towards the top along the coast of Greenland. You see that the older ice eventually moves out of the Arctic and into the North Atlantic, where it melts. But the ice gets replenished within the Arctic because some of the ice survives each summer and grows older. And particularly in a region north of Alaska called the Beaufort Sea, where the ice spins around in a clockwise direction called the Beaufort Gyre. And that ice can keep spinning around, oftentimes for several years, and gradually getting older and thus getting thicker. Eventually, the ice will spin out of that gyre and go out through Fram Strait. But in the past, what has happened, we've always had enough ice growth and ice aging, enough ice surviving the summers to replenish the older ice that's lost. But in recent years, we've seen less replenishment. There's been more melt during the summer, and so the ice that goes out through Fram Strait has not been compensated by the ice growth. In addition, especially in recent years, we've seen some pretty remarkable things in the Beaufort Sea, where that area that used to be a nursery for the development of the older ice, allow the young ice to age and mature. What we've seen instead is the ice is now more broken up, more scattered, and that's allowing the older ice to melt within the Beaufort Sea. So we're seeing the Beaufort Sea go from a nursery to a graveyard for older ice. And as we get towards the more recent years, much of that oldest ice, the ice that's older than 5 years old and the bright white, is almost virtually disappeared from the Arctic Ocean, and the Arctic is now dominated by younger and thinner ice.
So the two big problems that I've heard of this, well, I'll say the one big problem because I just saw somebody type this in chat. I don't know if this is a big one, but somebody says that when more ice melts, there's less to reflect sunlight back. I don't know if that's like a big deal or not. But the big thing that I've heard that's a big problem is that ice contains carbon dioxide. And one of the problems is that as you start melting away that ice, what's going to happen is that as you melt more of that, we're already releasing a lot of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. As you melt more of that, even more will be released, which will cause the temperature to heat up even more, which will cause even more to be released. Oh, methane. I'm sorry, not carbon dioxide, methane. But like that can cause a runaway effect such that if we stop all of our, like, let's say we literally turn off everything of technology that we have, like right now, if we turn it all off, that if we've already started that runaway, that runaway effect would just lead to like a catastrophic destruction of our planet's climate system. That it's just not stoppable because it will continue to release more, temperatures will continue to rise, and then that'll cause even more to be released. And then we turn into, I guess, a mini Venus or whatever, or a big Venus. I don't know which planet is bigger, actually. I think we're bigger than Venus. You've also got things like, they're already huge. Yeah, the ocean like becoming more acidic is a big thing. Man. Oh, Vox did a video on this, like.
This year is the warmest on record. And with ocean temperatures reaching dangerously high levels, a major coral bleaching event is predicted to hit the Great Barrier Reef. It's a race against time to document these reefs before climate change alters conditions here. The XL Catlin Seaview Survey uses cameras to take high numbers of 360-degree photographs of the bottom of the sea, effectively mapping the seafloor like Google Street View maps land. With this technology, scientists are able to establish a baseline for the coral reefs, so that after a bleaching event, they can figure out how much was actually lost.
I don't know if they show before or after pictures in this.
It's part of the largest visual stocktake of corals on the planet, ever done. And after today's dives, I'm actually feeling hopeful. The reefs here are thriving. But then I learned my optimism may be misplaced. Ove has footage from other reefs around the world, and he says what's happening there will eventually happen here too.
Now, this is largely a healthy reef. Right. Now, if you look at a reef that's under stress, like this one here.
And it's bleaching all over the place. Right? That's what all these white patches are.
That's right. Looks like it's snowed underwater. Right. So some of that might recover if it gets cooler sooner. But a lot of that will die either directly or it'll die of starvation or disease. So if you look at the healthy reef on the left-hand side with reefs that have now started to bleach, like the one on the right.
And we're talking, and wow, that's only a couple of months of it being under that stress. It's surprising to see how quickly it happens. That is shocking.
The first time people saw a mass bleaching event was in the early 1980s, and never before then. But in 1998, we had the first global event. But then you go to 2010 and it happens again, 2015, 2016, and it's happening again. And all that while, it appears that the interval between these events is shortening and their intensity is increasing. We're now in the third global mass bleaching event. This year, we had very warm conditions coming into the summer, plus a strong El Nino. And that then pushed sea temperatures right to the limit over most of the reef.
Yeah, I don't know. List of fatal bear attacks in North America. Polar bear. They deserve it. Can you expand on the Venus thing a bit? I could be wrong. Yeah, let me preface everything with I could be wrong. But I think Venus has the highest average surface temperature in our solar system. Even though Mercury is much closer, although I think Mercury on the opposite side is very cold. Yeah, negative 280 on the other side, or negative 170 for my Brit bongers, or 100 I guess for my Kelviners. What does Kelvin start at? Negative 240 or something? I don't remember. So the problem is that Venus has such an atmosphere that when sunlight shines on the planet, a lot of the solar energy gets in and a lot of the temperature starts to raise, but the atmosphere traps in. It keeps a lot of that energy inside the planet, and it doesn't like radiate off the planet as well as it does on the planet Earth. Is the big thing, right? This is like the greenhouse effect. So Venus, the idea is that if we continue to destroy our atmosphere, that our atmosphere will eventually resemble what Venus's atmosphere is, and that Earth will become a planet that retains much, much, much more heat than 0 is the start of Kelvin. I'm talking about in relation to fucking Celsius, you fucking inbred. The danger is that our atmosphere on Earth will start to resemble Venus's atmosphere if we let the greenhouse gas thing get too far out of control. While the reef's dying is sad, could that really lead to an extinction level event for humans, or is it just an indicator of shit going the wrong way? The problem is that all of the shit that we have right now on planet Earth is set up to work in our current climate system. If we radically change that, it's hard to say if how we survive in the next era. So like, here's an example. Percentage of human population living near coasts. So like, let's say that the sea level rises a bit. Okay, almost half of the world's population lives within 100 kilometers of a coast. These people have to move inwards. That's going to mean more stress on land. I mean, obviously, the moving itself is going to be like catastrophic. Any crops or anything that's planted close to a coast is always going to be fucked. And then the inside temperature of the places that are inside, whatever flooded lands is going to change as well. So places that used to be good for certain crops are no longer going to be good for certain crops. Those will have to be moved to other places. Some places might become totally inhospitable. Like what happens to places like Australia here, where everybody lives on the coast? Like, yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, there's just a lot of potentially negative impacts that happen if we radically change our climate, or like the whole ecosystem of the Earth, and it's hard to say how we survive in that world moving forward. Also, another big problem is that, like I said, the big scary thing is the runaway effect as well, that once the planet starts warming past a certain point, it might not be reversible. We might just be on a one-way path towards devastation. And when I say devastation, I mean like a planet that's so hot that no life that exists here currently will continue to be able to exist. Also, the timescale is much faster than geological processes. Yeah, the big problem with the human meme, and this is why I say that like things are going to be within the next like 5 to 10 years maybe. The problem is that we're seeing like there's a cute little XKCD comic on this too, where the amount of carbon in the atmosphere and the temperatures have whoosh, like if you draw a graph, like the graph like looks like the graph would look something like where you see like these normal things, and then we're at like, and then this is like for like 1 year. I don't know why I'm painting this one. I gotta show you this fucking meme. But there's a lot of different you can see there's a ton of different memes like this, but nobody really seems to care. This is one of the irritating things about. Oh yeah, this goes back like 20,000 years or whatever. Is this parts per million in the atmosphere of carbon? Oh no, this is average surface temperature, I think. A lot of the problems is that people keep making this assumption, or people will say dumb things like, well, the Earth gets warmer and the Earth gets cooler. It's a natural process. But the thing is that since the Industrial Age began, no, our temperatures have radically changed, radically shifted in a very short period of time, an insanely short period of time. This is not a normal shifting of the Earth's temperatures. People say that even if we stop all emissions, we still need to find a way to extract carbon out of the atmosphere. Yeah. Maybe, yeah, maybe. How do we measure what the temperature was 20,000 years ago? There are ways to do it, but I don't know how they do it. I'm not sure, but I think there literally aren't enough greenhouse gases on Earth to create a Venus-like scenario. Why not? Wouldn't the composition of Earth and Venus be pretty similar? Because we're part of the 4 inner rocky planets? I could be totally wrong on that, but I would imagine that the inside composition of the planet is going to be pretty similar to between both. But I could be totally wrong on that. I'm not sure. Maybe there are variances in our planet. Should I not have kids then? Having children is probably one of the biggest harms that you can do to the planet in terms of environmental shit, but I mean, it's up to you, dude. This climate change meme gets passed around a lot, but it's true.
Today the federal...
Oh, yeah, we watched this on stream. This is really preachy. God damn, this show is so fucking preachy. But I mean, it's probably mostly right. It'd be pretty sad if we stress about so many things like terrorism and nuclear shit, but if climate change ends up just fucking us all over, then... That's pretty... I feel like climate change needs to be preachy. I think that climate change needed to be pitched as like destroying mankind's home or something rather than environmental damage. Although I know people have recently started to do that, but like yeah, I don't know. It seems like this is the main meme we need to focus on then, no? Why don't most people focus on it? Because most people don't even think it's real. There were like 30 different tweets. Oh, I'm sorry. Maybe more. Where Trump has said shit about how it snowed over 4 inches this past weekend in New York City. It is still October. So much for global warming. Newly released emails prove that scientists have manipulated data on global warming. Global warming has been proven to be a canard repeatedly over and over again. The left needs a dose of reality. In the 1920s, people were worried about global cooling. It never happened. Now it's global warming. Give me a break. Some people say it's a Chinese myth to destroy our manufacturing. The concept of global warming was created by and for the Chinese in order to make U.S. manufacturing non-competitive. I've heard Rush Limbaugh talk about climate change. He literally said that the hurricane that was going for Florida, he said that this hurricane was actually a hoax. He said that they were making it up to try to scare people out of climate change shit. Although it ended up not being that bad, so maybe they did.
Rush Limbaugh went on a totally unhinged rant about climate change where he calls people who believe in it dumb and useless and even compares us to Hitler.
The evidence every day, folks, this is, I'm telling you, it is one of the most amazing sights to behold. There isn't any. There hasn't been any global warming, not man-made. There isn't any of any kind. The number one agent causing it has increased in volume exponentially, CO2, and there hasn't been any warming. And yet they're still pushing it. If there's no other way to, you've got to believe that this is all politics. It can only be politics keeping this alive. And it is a politics that intentionally insults the intelligence of people and preys on the stupid and the dumb and the weak. Intentionally, in order to gain popular support. And by that I mean, they focus on people who have, in their own estimation, meaningless lives.
So to back up, to give you how Rush Limbaugh frames this issue. So Rush Limbaugh is the most popular talk show host in the United States. The way that Rush Limbaugh frames this is Democrats want to control your life. They want to be able to tell you what you can eat, what kind of car you can drive, what kind of house you can own, what kind of fuel you can burn. The government wants to control every part of your life. Because if Democrats can make you reliant on the government, they can always win your votes. Because if you become reliant on the government, the only way that you can keep your living is to keep voting for their government policies. So Democrats push the concept of global warming. They push this falsehood to you because they want to convince you that, one, the planet is dying, so you need them, and two, they want to make it so that they can tell you what kind of vehicle you're allowed to drive. They want to relegate to you every single part of your life, and the government needs to be in charge of all of that. You don't have the freedom as an American to pick your choice of a vehicle or home or energy. That you're not allowed to do that because the Democrats want to control everything. So of course they're going to push the global warming narrative because it's just a way for them to grow the size of government and get more control over your life. That's Rush Limbaugh's narrative on this.
Wondering what their purpose is. Why am I here? Why am I driving this clunker car? Why can't I go to good job? Why am I here? And then all of a sudden, those people here, they can save the planet. Now that big. You go from mattering not at all to being a key ingredient to saving the planet. You sign up right then and you do whatever, and then you let everybody know you're doing it. So you go buy a Prius and you go support all this madcap crazy stuff and you become an evangel and you are saving the planet and your new life has meaning. And that's what I mean by preying on the weak, the dumb, stupid. How many times have you heard anybody on TV who's being interviewed for some achievement, some accomplishment, for some reason, and the person, usually a Hollywood actress, but it could be anybody, I want to make a difference. How many times have you heard it? Well, that's what they pray on. You want to make a difference? Fine, you can save the planet. Now, you've helped destroy it. We know you didn't mean to, but you unwittingly, by driving the car you drove, or eating McDonald's, or eating whatever you were destroying the planet. But now you can atone. You must vote Democrat, support big government, the welfare state, and cut back on progress. And if you do all that, we'll love you, we'll take care of you, just vote for us, and you can save the planet. And that's how they pray on them. And they can make a difference. Hitler made a difference. Stop it.
What?
Hitler made a difference. Proud conservative.
As always, the subject of current events and Trump and politics and a couple of issues came up. And then the issue of climate change came up. And one of the guys said, look, I know, Rush, I know, but I tell you, I don't know what's wrong with it. Why don't we pursue it? Why don't we take them at their word? Look at the economic benefits that would accrue if we began to take it. My mouth fell open in shock and dismay. And we get a discussion here. And this was good for me because this is somebody on our side who has fallen prey to the very seductive language and so forth put forth by...
Destiny, he's not wrong. Democrats do fuck all about climate change. Didn't Obama push cap and trade? There's something to look at here, okay? The problem is that, Destiny, please stop talking about right-wing viewpoints and saying that these are the viewpoints of most people. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Did I say most people? I mean to say Republicans. I feel like I made that distinction, but maybe I'm not. If I didn't, then I misspoke. The problem is that Democrats alone...
Love your stream, Destiny. Been watching
since StarCraft 2 days, but the first time donating. Any plans to stream Path of Exile? Yeah, I might be in the next few days. The problem is that... Yeah, sorry, I mean most Republicans. My bad. The problem is that The problem is that Democrats cannot fix the issue on their own, okay? But it's more than that. America can't even fix the issue on its own. It has to be an issue that we tackle with from like a worldwide issue. Yeah, I'm sorry. When I said most people don't believe in climate change, I mean to say right-leaning people. That's why I'm talking about Rush Limbaugh and how the right frames it. I think I'm pretty sure, like, I would be shocked if less than like 85% of Democrats believed in climate change. I would be shocked in that. Say most scientists believe global warming is occurring, so Democrats are at 86% and Republicans are down to 42%. Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the...
Oh, God. One of the big problems with climate change, though, is that it has to be tackled. This is why people talk about, or why I've even talked about, like, sometimes you think you need, like, a world government or something, because there are some problems that you can't tackle on your own. And this is why some of the big climate accords have been called into question, because one problem, I wish I had the specific language used, and if I'm misquoting this or incorrect on this, feel free to mention it. But one problem that a lot of global climate agreements have is that they make a lot of concessions for developing nations. So if you enter into some of these climate agreements, say you're the United States, like, okay, well, I'm going to try to reduce emissions by blah, blah, blah. Well, these agreements specifically exclude countries like India and China that are some of the largest supporters, or I'm sorry, largest contributors of greenhouse gases because they're developing nations. And it's like, okay, well, that one, it doesn't seem like we're accurately tackling the problem. And then two, now I'm just like disadvantaging myself in comparison to these countries. That's been, I think, a valid criticism of what do people gain from not some of those climate agreements? I'm pretty sure this happened, not the Paris Accord. It was like a French agreement a long time ago that I think Bush didn't want us to be a part of. I don't remember. Global economic crisis has been known to reduce oil consumption, air travel, and many other activities which have a bad impact on global warming. So Trump, with this incoming trade war and ensuing recession/depression, might help us with delaying global warming. Nice. Isn't there a meme about developing nations being able to skip the cancer spread of industrialization with cleaner energy solutions? Yeah, but that's oftentimes less efficient and more expensive, right? A lot of clean energy in the United States works because we subsidize the fuck out of it. And I think only very recently, very recently has some forms of alternative energy become more preferable. Oh, Kyoto Protocol. I think that might be it. For the Bush meme. Didn't the Kyoto Protocol exempt developing nations, or did I fall prey to some bad memes? Under the Kyoto Protocol, the world's wealthier countries assumed binding commitments to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. The agreement requires these countries to consider ways to minimize blah, blah, blah. Using a general equilibrium model for the one, we find that adverse effects fall mainly on energy exporting countries for some even greater than on countries that are assuming commitments. Moving existing field like another approach and instead OECD countries directly compensated developing countries for their loss to require annual financial transfers to be in the order of $25 billion. The price of alternative energy is now cheaper than coal, and India and China made massive commitments to solar energy and wind energy. Fuck, I've heard so many bad things about wind energy. Solar energy seems pretty cool. I'm not sure. Do you think we're just fucked until fighting global warming becomes economically profitable? The thing is that global warming and environmental destruction falls under the concept of externality in terms of economics. So free markets can't fight it. You can't do anything in the free market about climate change until like consumers care about it, right? Because there's no money in making the environment healthier. Nobody gives a fuck. Nobody's going to pay your company to clean the fucking atmosphere unless you can find some people to do it. There's just not money to be made in it. That's what cap and trade was supposed to do, right? Is to provide an economic incentive to be more environmentally friendly so that the free market can move to address the problem. The Paris Agreement solved the problem you're talking about by having rich countries pay to help developing countries skip coal. Oh, okay, cool. Developing countries per capita put out less emissions than countries like the U.S. anyway. Yeah, I'm not sure how much the per capita argument matters here, though. Because, like, at the end of the day, pollution is pollution. That might not be a fair statement, though. I'd have to think about that. I'm not sure. Like, let's say that we need 1 million tons of fucking carbon dioxide or something to destroy the atmosphere. And let's say the United States puts out 200 million or I'm sorry, or 2 million or something, or 20 million, and then like China puts out 80 million, and you're like, okay, well, China's putting out like fewer parts per, China's per capita contributions are lower than the United States, so technically they're doing better. That's okay, but at the end of the day, it's really the absolute value that we're talking about, right? Like, we are looking at an absolute figure here that will probably destroy the planet, so I don't know if the per capita argument does actually matter. You know, I'm not sure. But I'm not sure. But I could be totally wrong on that. I don't know. I have to think more about that. I shouldn't have even actually talked about that because I'm not sure. I'd have to think about more. There's also the possibility that developing nations, as they move into first world status, will begin to consume energy per capita on a level that more resembles the United States as well, right? How do we get to the point of a world government? I don't even know how that happens. I don't know if it ever happens. You have to kill all the fucking nationalists. I don't know if human, hold on.
Have you seen
Have you seen the video where global warming is opening trade routes in the South Pole, and this is causing a bunch of states to claim land in the South Pole, and Russia's building military bases in Siberia to claim land? I have not heard of that. One thing that might be something to think about is that I don't know if humans are compatible with world governments. I don't know if like our evolution has designed us to be compatible, to be the kind of person that is okay with subjugating themselves to world government. I don't know if that's like a human thing. That's a huge extrapolation. I don't know, you know, because to some extent we're very tribalistic by nature. We're very much concerned with what we can see by nature. Like this is human nature. This is what biology has given us. In order to overcome those hurdles, and even to be friends with like black people and shit, requires you to overcome like a natural hurdle to some extent. So yeah, I don't know. That's like a very cognitive process, and I don't know if it's reasonable to expect that to change on a global level. I don't know. Whoa, what's up? Hold on one second. Okay. I love you guys very much. I'll be back in give me like 20 minutes. I need to do some memes. This fucking guy, dude. What is Xscale's opinion on climate change? I don't even want to know. I don't know. I would hope that he probably believes in it, I think. Maybe. Here, I have commercials. Be careful. I'm gonna get hot chocolate. I'm not getting hot chocolate. What's your opinion on nuclear energy? I don't know. I haven't heard anything bad about nuclear energy. It seems like a really, really good meme. Other than the, like, what do we do with the waste thing, which is definitely a problem, but... All right, I'll be back 1 sec.
What's your take on Kurzweilism, singularity? In short, people will extend their brains with AI, so regular problems of resource scarcity, tribal wars and politics will be largely irrelevant in say 20 to 30, looking at trends in computing, bioengineering, I love you all, chat. Less than 3.
Holy fucking yikes, boys. Okay, I'm sorry. I love you all very much. Oh, I should have unlisted my game. I'll be back in like an hour, okay? I promise I won't fall asleep this time. Be careful. Alright, I'll spout Nickel. Be careful. I'll be back. Hold on, Nathan.